What's the fucking hubbub, you slobs? Anti-woke grifting morons who are cyberbullying Millie Alcock. Go kick rocks. We're doing some critical thinking on Supergirl, who is super drunk and dealing with her entire planet, Krypton, you know, being blown up to pieces. And you'd think a critical drinker would find a kinship in that commonality. I mean, for fuck's sake, who needs a reason to drink anyway? But you know the anti-woke game is one we typically ignore truth in favor of rage bait. Let's get on with it. Millie Alcock apparently hates Christianity. Well, not so fast. The media reports it without clarity for those that sorely are missing and needing it. She describes some of the criticism as coming from faceless accounts, burner profiles, or someone calling himself a dad of 4 Christian, which she said was hilarious. Page 6 covered the remarks under the headline, Supergirl actress mocks critics, says a lot of them are Christian dads. What she was pointing out is the irony of these profiles who tout themselves as Christian dads, but they are part of the ones going after her looks and saying awful things. You know the saying of practicing what you preach?
Variety. I encourage everybody to go read it. It's kind of a lengthy article, but you kind of get an idea of what she's all about. She is trying to create a villain that doesn't exist. And it's actually disgusting. As a fan of these properties, do you really think it's a good idea to have the female lead come out and say this kind of stuff and alienate the audience before it gets released in theaters? Does anybody even think that that is even remotely a good idea?
Well, a dad of 4 girls like Aaron Fisher mentions he is, I sure hope isn't one calling Millie Alcock horrendous names. Aaron, if you aren't being a dumb twat comparing her to Feral Boy and Will Poulter and making trans remarks, while bragging about being Father of the Year, she wasn't talking about you. Relax, stop the fake outrage as it's fucking pathetic and disingenuous. The anything for subscribers misdirection. It sure seems intentional to take almost everything out of context. Being a sellout to the Restore SnyderVerse fanbase and anti-woke grift is absolute true shill behaviour. These Restore the SnyderVerse misinformation channels bend their knee to the hate against anything James Gunn and the DCU because the Restore Zack SnyderVerse audience commands them to. A user comment mentioned about Aaron Fisher, for example, don't act like you haven't seen all those edited posters of Millie Alcock made to look ugly or appear as a man because you interact with people on X who share and repost that stuff. She said it was ironic that people spreading hate were ones who claimed they were Christian, which is clearly her saying Christians aren't meant to spread hate. I'll give you some examples of stuff supposed family men have been saying. You tell me after seeing some of these if she has a right to push back on these kind fucking Christians. Look at this winner in Family Man. I think it's great that they have a Downs person playing a main character. Let's look at the next ideal male example, he says Chaka from Land of the Lost TV series, and that's sure to foster self-esteem in Millie Alcock, right? Here's another example, he says she hasn't changed a bit since Mad Max. My god, the incels that are allowed to breed. Look at this guy who says it's the studio's fault for casting a transgender as Supergirl. What did they expect? So when you see the actual context, it is stating that she's had enough of these profiles who are such family men. Some even marked as Christian on their bio that are the ones behaving like cruel misogynistic jerks. Yes, she's fully entitled to step back and gladly be offending them with her existence in the role. She's not against Christian men. She is against men who say they are Christian, but are the nothing of the sort. Shame on anyone who accepts the taunting and cyberbullying going on. Beyond Millie Alcock, get a clue and out of your echo chamber feeding you bullshit. A good-natured girl dad would never accept someone doing this to their daughter. Don't act like teen suicides from peers on insults isn't happening as we speak, and affects young women more than anyone. The stupidity of this woke veil has left some of you ignorant on simple things like context. Wake the fuck up, and just because it's not a SnyderVerse movie, set that aside from your cult boy ways and recognize the onslaught towards Millie was never acceptable. Forcing the Rachel Zegler comparison isn't even in the same realm. Yes, I see Rachel look down on Snow White's history and traditional story charm by saying it was weird and the prince was a stalker. I don't agree with her sentiments, but Millie isn't shitting on the history of Supergirl. She's just asking that you supposed family men, calling her twisted remarks, learn to shut the fuck up and be better examples to their kids. These are not the same situation. If you say it is the same, you're an idiot and a liar. Be that perfect Facebook family photo you share, instead of your reality of devious, disgusting, bullying hate-monger of a personality. You shares photos of babies that never cry, wives who always smile, but we know from your sick comments that isn't reality. You probably disappoint them if your true nature is to bag on them anything like you've done to Millie Alcock. Be better, and if you're religious, read that Bible, bitch. By the way, the Variety article also reveals that DC Studios co-head Peter Safran reached out to Alcock after the reaction to her earlier comments. Safran told Alcock she was doing great and handling it beautifully, adding that she would never make everyone happy and should just be true to herself. That makes this more than just an actor talking off the cuff. DC Studios knows about the fan reaction, and Safran appears to be backing Alcock's approach instead of steering the campaign away from the topic. He could have backed the talk down, but he's supporting it regardless because he views it from the full context of the toxic crowd that has said absolute subhuman remarks. It's interesting how this talk ramped up right around the time some new footage released, which got a lot of positive buzz. We're seeing more Superman and Lobo, alongside some kick-ass heat vision from Supergirl. The Snyder Bros' biggest fear is the movie is good, and they just want to tear it down regardless. Make no mistake, as much as they talk about quality, that is not a factor for them. Supergirl can literally be a great movie, but it won't make them rethink anything. The Restore SnyderVerse cult is so into the movement, it's just something to belong to and try to win at this point. They don't actually care if the DCU is great, it does not change the mission. They are hell-bent on being online terrorists that are winning through toxic insults and any means necessary. If SnyderVerse was restored, I even wonder if they'd be watching it, or too wrapped up in their bizarre movement for the next thing to win. If they got a Justice League 2, before it's made $1, they'd have hashtags up for Justice League 3 and a Release the Heirs cut that few outside of them would give a rat's ass about seeing. All you focusing on woke this, masculinity that, while acting like only Snyder can direct a comic book movie, find a mirror, look in it, then shut the fuck up and stop crying about a dead verse. No SnyderVerse, no problem. Anyway, that's all I got for today. Go away now.